Hello, 6 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to the Class Breakfast News. The news is live on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, Ho FM 92.5 in the Volta region, Dagban FM 102.5 in Tamale, Radio 92.1 in the Upper West region, Radio Power 96 in Spain. Around the world, join us on classfmonline.com. Coming up in this bulletin, economy takes center stage as Finance Minister presents mid-year budget today. Meanwhile, tax analyst urges government to cut expenditure, strengthen spending controls.
What you have paid as taxes, what I've paid as taxes, it should be properly utilized. Cutting down expenditure, ensuring that you cut down losses as well, and also you need to actually do a third phase one, which is also plugging the holes.
Class 91.3.
Also coming up in this bulletin, FDA shuts down 44 food businesses over safety violation. Government set 3-month deadline for Ghana card biometric compliance.
Government recognizes that institutions will need time to put in place the system necessary to comply fully. Organizations are accordingly granted a transition period of 3 months.
These plus many other stories coming your way shortly.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
I am Elizabeth Aidoo and you're welcome to Class 91.3 FM. Let's settle for the details of the news. The nation's economic direction comes under fresh scrutiny today as Finance Minister Dr. Case Latoforsen presents the 2026 mid-year budget review to Parliament amid growing calls for measures to ease the cost of doing business, strengthen fiscal discipline and also sustain the country's economic recovery. The policy statement is expected to provide an update on the government's economic performance during the first half of the year while outlining fiscal adjustment, revenue mobilization measures and expenditure plans for the remainder of the year. Also ahead of the presentation today, businesses are looking forward to measures that will reduce the cost of doing business, improve access to credit and also provide greater support for local industries. Investors are also keenly watching for policy decisions on taxation, public spending and also broader economic outlook. The majority in Parliament yesterday clashed over the government management of the economy, with both sides presenting differing views of the country's economic performance. There's more in the following report.
Attention now turns to Parliament, where Finance Minister Dr. Case Latoforsen is expected to present the Mahama administration's first mid-year budget review on Thursday, July 23. The statement is expected to provide an account of government's economic performance over the past 6 months and outline progress on key policy commitments. Ghanaians will be looking for updates on major flagship programs, including the proposed Women's Development Bank, the 24-hour Economy Initiative, the Big Push Infrastructure Program, efforts to tackle illegal mining and flooding, as well as interventions in education, job creation, and other sectors. Ahead of the presentation, the minority in Parliament says it does not expect the Finance Minister to seek additional funding, arguing that Parliament has already approved adequate resources for government programs.
If the Finance Minister come here to this house tomorrow, we will be observing and be monitoring every line of his statement or his budget. And we beg him, he should not come and ask of any money, because we will not give him any money, because the money that we have given. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we approved about $1 billion. $1 billion as a loan to the minister.
The Member of Parliament for Tolon, Habib Idrisu, also questioned the implementation of several government initiatives, insisting many remain largely on paper.
I just want the deputy leader to know what Ghanaians are expecting of the finance minister tomorrow when he presents the statement. Mr. Speaker, the jobs that they promise Ghanaian youth, including NDC youth, is only on paper. The 24-hour economy, Yamutu. The Women's Bank, Yamutu. 133, Yamutu. Paying contractors, Yamutu. and every bit of the promise that you have done. Ghanaians are expecting that the media budget tomorrow should be able to address that.
The majority, however, says the government has made significant gains within its first 6 months in office, points to the reported decline in Ghana's debt-to-GDP ratio to 44% as evidence of prudent economic management. Vice Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Rachid Champon, believes the government's economic record deserves recognition.
Mr. Speaker, many of our friends are turning to be prophets of doom. Things that have not happened is what they are talking about. We left a loan portfolio of 120 billion. By the end of the 8-year term, you move it to 748 billion Ghana cedis. Debt to GDP ratio moved to over 100%. When you were living, it was around 61%. And now it's 44.7%. And instead of praising the government, you are here saying, and then what you did is giving us all these important indicators. Mr. Speaker, it's about economic discipline. When he brought COVID, people were talking about it. There have been different results.
Today's presentation is expected to trigger intense debate, with both sides of the House scrutinizing government's figures, policy outcomes, and expenditure. Ultimately, many Ghanaians will judge the review not only by the numbers presented, but by whether they reflect improvements in their daily lives. Reporting for Class News here in Parliament, I am Zita Okwan.
Now, the Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Okansi, says he expects the Finance Minister to announce measures aimed at strengthening expenditure control and managing the country's public debt.
It is important to know that what you have paid as taxes, it should be properly utilized. Cutting down expenditure, and also I've also had the introduction of tax systems where we are beyond the tax education. You need to actually touch base with the people. There are difficulties that are stopping people from paying their tax. You need to handle all that. And then the grant of exemption.
That's the Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Okansi. The Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana is also calling on the government to refrain from introducing additional taxes at the country's port following the rollout of the Publican AI system. The association is further urging the government to implement measures that would help reduce the lending rates to improve access to affordable credit for businesses. The General Secretary of the Association, Samson Asaki Awingobet, spoke yesterday on 505.
The assurance of Bank of Ghana dollar availability will make dollars available to the commercial banks to trade. Mind you, the commercial banks are not permitted export or to import by their own forex. So they rely heavily from the Bank of Ghana.
Right.
And if he's listening, that this expressway and Ghanaian can buy.
That's the Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobet. Moving away from that, President Mahama has criticized South Africa's response to xenophobic attack against African nationals, saying authorities are not acting with the urgency the crisis demand. He made the remark yesterday during a meeting with the African Union Commission chairperson at Jubilee House. President Mahama said perpetrators of the attack are known but continue to operate with impunity and called for the matter to be formally discussed at the AU level.
Expect them to respond. It doesn't appear that the South African authorities are responding to the magnitude that one would expect them to do. The persons who are funding these xenophobic attacks are known, and they've been left free to continue to do what they want to do, and so it's become something they are doing with impunity at very high cost to us. We had to charter planes to go to South Africa to evacuate our citizens. We operated 3 charter flights. As the continental body, AU should take an interest in this issue, because
That's President John Dramani Mahama. Let's go back to Parliament because a report ranking the Member of Parliament for Nshiayeso, Stephen Amwa, among Ghana's underperforming legislators has sparked a sharp battle with the lawmaker, dismissing the findings as false, misleading, and detached from the realities of his constituency. Stephen Amwa insists the assessment does not reflect his record of service and development in Nshiayeso. He argues that the performance of a Member of Parliament should not be measured solely by infrastructure projects, maintaining that the representation, advocacy, and also influence on national policies are equally important indicators of effective leadership. The Member of Parliament also questioned the methodology used in the assessment, urging the researchers to engage stakeholders, including traditional leaders, teachers, and residents, before drawing conclusions on the performance of elected representatives.
I wonder what Musa Dankwa, my own brother, is depending on. This is very, very demotivating. This is very dangerous because I believe in myself that with my performance within 6 years and with the opportunity I had, what I've done, I don't think you can get more than 10 MPs to do what I've done. And I'm not comparing myself to my MPs, but I'm talking about top performance. So Mr. Dankwa should come again because I find it very strange. You go to Santasi Market, I gave them about 100,000 to do businesses, share and pay back without interest. Just about 40% pay, and I left the rest. You go to Atasimaso Market, armed robbers were worrying them. I used my own money to provide security gates and other things. I am cool with the constituents. I am fine with them. Through me, some of the youth got GRA, Cocoa Board, Gas, banks. Some of them are in UK. In fact, one of them is one of the top army officers in UK today. Some of them, the parents call me and they are crying. I just went to UK. This thing was bought by a constituent who, because of me in UK now, he's having a good job.
That's the Member of Parliament for Nshiayeso, Stephen Amwa. A major change is expected in Ghana's basic education system after the Education Minister directed the Ghana Education Service to prepare for the implementation of the Ghanaian languages as the medium of instructions at the lower primary levels. The directive requires the Ghana Education Service to review the curriculum and also ensure readiness for the implementation. And speaking yesterday during the presentation of the revised curriculum, the Minister for Education, Haruna Iddrisu, said learners at the lower basic levels will be taught to read in Ghanaian languages, while English will be taught as a subject with a greater emphasis on oral communication and play-based learning.
The GES is given 1 week from today to review and bring the curriculum up to full implementation readiness and strict quality standards. This will ensure that the GES as an operational agency takes ownership early to guarantee smooth execution in the classroom and align administrative policy with classroom realities. I am particularly enthused that today, as we remind the GES, I heard the Director General of NACA on the medium of teaching and learning from kindergarten to basic year 3, and accordingly I accept your recommendation that Ghanaian language medium of instruction from kindergarten to basic year 3.
That's the Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu. Institutions across the country having given 3 months to prepare for the mandatory biometric verification of the Ghana card under a new government directive aimed at improving identity authentication. The directive requires public institutions and private organizations to fully comply with the new Ghana card biometric verification system, which seeks to strengthen identity checks and reduce fraud. Speaking at a press briefing yesterday, the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, said the 3 months grace period is to allow affected institutions to put necessary systems in place before enforcement begins.
Government recognizes that institutions will need time to put in place the system, infrastructure, and staff training necessary to comply fully. Organizations are accordingly granted a transition period of 3 months from 27th of July to 2nd of November 2026, within which to establish the necessary protocols to implement LI 2523. This transition period is granted strictly to allow for orderly implementation and does not suspend or waive any obligation under the regulation. Institutions are expected to begin compliance measures immediately and to be fully compliant by the end of this period. Let me say, this is to every Ghanaian. You have a right to expect that your Ghana card will not be casually photocopied.
That's the Minister for the Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. The National Lottery Authority has announced plans to overhaul its operation with new technology solution following years of challenges with obsolete terminal and unreliable connectivities. The authority says it has planned with Fidelity Bank and its technical partners to replace outdated point of sale system with modern equipment and improved networking infrastructure. Speaking at a press conference, the Director General of the National Lottery Authority, Abdul Salam Mustafa, said the upgrade will improve operational efficiency and also enhance service delivery.
This is a modernization agreement in the fullest sense. It replaces obsolete terminals and unreliable 2G connectivity with current generation point of sale equipment and dependable network infrastructure. But equipment is only part of the story, and it is not, in my view, even the most important part. Raising the instant win ceiling. The centerpiece of this agreement is a transformation in what our players can win and how quickly they can be paid. Under the current arrangement, instant win payment through the POS scanner are capped at 1,200 cedis.
That's the Director General of the National Lottery Authority, Abdul Salam Mustafa. Sachet producers and cold store operators are among 44 food businesses shut down by the Food and Drugs Authority following inspection that uncovers licensing and hygiene violation. The enforcement exercise, which was carried out in the Ga East and Ga West municipalities, forms part of FDA's nationwide effort to ensure compliance with food safety regulations. Several facilities were found to be operating without the required licenses, with others producing food products under conditions that did not meet regulatory standards. Among the facilities shut down is Virgin Natural Mineral Water, a sachet water manufacturing facility at the Showman in the Ga East municipality for operating without the required license. The FDA says it will continue to enforce food safety regulations to protect public health and also ensure that only compliant businesses operate in their country. We'll also bring you more details on this story and also the media budget that will be read today by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kaisel Atuforsen. This ends the Class Breakfast News with me, Elizabeth Aidoo. For more news and updates, do log on to classfmonline.com. The morning show continues with Charles Akrofi. Do stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a good morning.